Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Day Humanity Vanished, written by FarmWitch4275. Life went on as normal. The Delusian Empire was at war with the Sabari. The Cambria Covenants were once again breathing down our necks to allow pilgrimage through our territory, which we were, of course, refusing. We all know what happens when those zeniths show up. Pirates going crazy through the western trade lanes. Same old, I guess. Only real note of excitement was a new first contact operation. A new race, a new empire, a new opportunity had been discovered in the far fringes of the galactic arm near a dead zone. Deathworlders, strong ones, apparently. No real military capacity, no real economic strength. One single home star, the homeworld, several partially terraformed and settled planets, and one small research outpost on a barren rock in a neighboring system. Ripe for the picking. We'd been sent all the data we could buy, bribe or steal from the Illusians who first bound them. It was pricey, and we're heading to the star system in a cloaked ship to grab whatever information we could before the local empires decide they're better off vanished or in shackles. It was a good thing that we decided to go through as soon as we could. We had to take several detours, owing to the fact that a lot of star systems on the way were saturated in military activity. It was already happening. Thankfully, we moved faster than their mobilization patterns and arrived ahead of an angry horde of greedy empires. Frankly, I had to convince my own emperor to stay away, to give us time. I had to lie so much that I could have won a professional contest. I told him we can have the humans after we use the chance to pillage the other empires. He bought the bait, and here I am. Transmissions in about 2 minutes, my lord. We should be entering the colony outpost. The humans have labeled this place Alpha Centauri. We will perform a full system scan as soon as we enter the system. Reports say the only thing they have is a self-sustaining starbase orbiting the lesser star, my navigations officer said. Good. Maybe we can convince them to give us a full historical archive and database. Frankly, we have limited time. The Lucians, Cambria, even the Olivarchians are gearing up. These poor bastards don't get what's about to hit them, I replied calmly. And, we're here to warn them or something? My ensign asked. Oh, gods, no. We're here to acquire as much information as possible, then get the hell out before the morons decide their guns are too cold. While they are busy duking it out with the humans, the Sir and I will do some extracurricular diplomacy, I replied with a smirk. My crew responded with a smile and a chuckle. We entered the star system moments later, blinded by the light of its 3 stars. Ridiculous. Why would they even set up shop here? I can understand an energy harvesting operation, but they aren't even close to that level they need to be for that to even be remotely viable. Scan. Energy signature located. Refined metals and communications signal. They know we are here, and we are being hailed. The officer barked as he typed away at a console. Good. Bring them up. Let's see what we can do. Hopefully, I can bluff my way through this, I said, and stood to attention, ready. A screen in front of me lowered down to eye level, and shortly thereafter an image of an evolved ape appeared on the screen. Hairless, save for tufts on the face and head. Interesting symmetry. Omnivorous. Strange-looking. Exotic. Well, shit, a fat Camonian with elf ears. Wasn't expecting that, he said, looking at me. Pardon? Is that some kind of insult? I asked. No, isn't. Sorry. You have a strange resemblance to a race of aliens. We've had a fiction before. We do that. What can I do for you exactly? Nothing really useful here unless you count the bottomless soda. The human, male, replied with a shrug. I see. Slightly shorter than last time, though. Might be weird camera perspective. Who cares? What do you want? I'm guessing you want a copy of our archive, he asked. I blinked. I had no idea what to think here, or what to do. How did he know? Were our intel sources compromised? Did the humans have a spy network already? I shook my head and faked a smile behind my confusion. That would be nice. Please? Huh. You actually said please. I wasn't expecting that. They never do that. Feels weird. Anyway, hold on a minute. Sending you a pod. Has a drive in it. Has all the info you need on it. Go nuts. We're almost ready to go anyway, he said. Jubilation. I ignored his comments and barked orders to the crew. In short order, we had an escape pod of some kind on board, and it contained a large black box. Plugging that into an isolated network, we found it contained an entire archive. Everything we needed. Everything we wanted. All of it. Even tech data. The human mostly ignored us and just carried on doing something in the background, looking like packing odd objects into boxes for some reason. While my officers drooled over the information they gave us, I wandered back to my seat and noted how the humans were preparing a shuttle, shoveling items into boxes, calmly, as if they had nowhere else to be but somewhere to go. Pardon me, human. What is your name again? I can't really actually remember exchanging that information. Mine is Thrax Grandlaw of Clan Oladar, I asked. The human looked at me through the camera with genuine shock and awe, as if he had just witnessed something incredibly amazingly strange, like he had never encountered politeness before. Ha! Jacob. Just Jacob. I'm the tech on duty here. Well, I was. Been recalled. We're done with this one, he said, and continued packing. I see. Well, actually, I don't. What does that even mean, recalled? In what way? Is the station just empty now or something? I asked, very confused. Nah, station disassembled, returned to quantum foam, and home returned to storage for next time. It didn't take us long to actually reach the decision this time. Guess we're finally over it. Maybe we can try solo run this time. Might start a brewery next time, he said, making no sense as he used adhesive strips to close a box. I'm sorry, but can you please explain what you are talking about? This makes less sense than it did 5 minutes ago, I asked as politely as I could, considering how confused I was. The human looked at me with a strange expression of shock and amazement again. Wow, okay, since you asked so nicely, we, meaning humans, are done. We're bored, we're sad, and we're done. We can't anymore. We tried so hard, we failed, even harder, and we are just done. So we're leaving, packing up and just going. We are unwilling to commit an entire galaxy to the sword, not again. And we just want to let go and leave this place alone. It's embarrassing at this point, and frankly, it's getting so repetitive, it's just becoming annoying. Same old, over and over. It's just tedious at this point. Short answer, we tried. So we will be long gone before your invasion fleets ever come close to cause damage. We're just done, he said frankly, glaring at me. I blinked. I just had no way to think about this. What was he even saying? How can a species just be done? What are they going to do? And how did they know about the invasion fleets? And how come these cradle-state primitives with only one star system commit to the galaxy to the sword? What? I had no way to answer, so I simply chuckled nervously and wondered what to say. Confused, huh? He asked. You could say that, I replied, rubbing my temples. Then go to Sol. Charge up the engines of yours and head to Sol. You're about to see what I mean. For what it's worth, at least for this time, I appreciate the fact that you have manners, he said with a warm smile, and then stood back. He procured a holographic keypad of some kind, typed on it, and looked at me. No offense, but we are hoping for better than this. We are, very disappointed, he said. He presented the middle digit to the camera and then pressed a button. In a flash of an instant, no energy build-up, no release of anything, he just vanished. Then the signal died. Then the station vanished. All of it. Just gone. Just like that. One moment it was there. The next was gone. But what happened, Ensign? I looked about, panicking. I don't know, my lord. He just vanished. No energy signature, nothing. Just gone. He looked as confused as I was. We're set course to Sol. Charge the engines. Blank speed. I barked and put on my safety harness. The ship shuddered as the light drives roared to life and the crew scrambled to transit stations. It felt like hours as the universe around us began to warp and distort. It was only a few light years away, so the trip would be short. It was barely 15 minutes later we arrived in the outskirts of the Sol system, using our sublight booster engines to navigate towards the human homeworld. As we passed by one of the gas giants, my ensign and navigations officer suddenly squealed in terror. What? What is it? I barked at them. The planets. They're disappearing. The gas giant we are passing has just lost all its moons. They're just gone. Vanished. The ensign squealed at me in panic. What in the 25 hells is going on? Double pace. I don't care if we don't need too hard stuff. Everyone can buckle and brace. Emergency velocity, I barked. I lurched back in my seat as the engineers followed my commands and shifted our engines into overdrive. Minutes later, we had the human homeworld in sight and did a fast, dangerous turning maneuver to flip our side around and use the engines to slam us into a full stop. It hurt a bit. It hurt a lot, actually. We shifted the ship around and started frantic scans at full power to find out what was going on. We managed to scan the planet's surface and collected data on a few ships that were around. We watched, awestruck and unable to do anything about it, as the entirety of human civilization just vanished from existence. No warnings, no energy spikes, nothing. It was as if an angry god just tried something in front of him, snapped his fingers and banished everything from reality. 10 minutes was all it took, and before we knew it, we were alone in space. All ships, all infrastructure, all of it was just gone. Then we heard a proximity alarm, and a fleet was inbound, a very large fleet. They'd gotten organized and were striking. No clue what was happening. Unidentified fleet incoming. Emperite signatures detected in slip. What do we do, sir? I had no idea what to do. Something was going horribly wrong, and my heart began to sink as the planet in front of us slowly became transparent, like it was fading away. I gave no orders, and sat, slack-jawed, at the sight of the planet's abnormally large moon vanishing from reality. I had no idea what to do or how to respond. How would one respond to something like this? The fleet in question suddenly arrived in the system. Thousands of warships of every class imaginable appeared a few thousand clinks away from us, barely within Earth's orbit. "Comsac, they're broadcasting on all frequency. Fighting it," my comms officer barked and started frantically typing away. "Now hear this, humans. By the order of the Imperium Seal, the authority of the great Tsar, and the powerful might of the Grand Empire, I lay claim to your pitiful race. You will submit to our might, or we shall—" His speech suddenly cut off mid-gloat, as Earth just vanished. Popped out of existence, just like all the others, just gone. Followed shortly thereafter by Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. Seconds later, the only thing our scanners could see was the local star, Sol. The entire star system had just disappeared from existence. "What the hell is going on?" Saranai. "Is this your doing?" he barked at us through this broadcast. "Of course it isn't our fault, you fatuous twit. How could we possibly do anything even close to this?" I bellowed angrily back at him. I actually saw him physically recoil at my vocalization. "Ensign, full system scan. Deep scan of that star, quickly," I ordered, and nervously watched my crew work. No abnormalities. It's just a K-class star, not even halfway through its life cycle. It's, empty. No gravity signatures either. There should be huge gravity waves where the planets were, but nothing. It's just empty, as if nothing existed. "I don't understand," he replied. How? How is this even possible?" I said, slumping in my chair. "Getting some kind of interference, sir. I don't know what to—" My comms officer tried to say. Then the star itself just vanished. The entire system collapsed into complete darkness as the sun's gravity well vanished from the sensors. We found ourselves alone in the dark. Thankfully, by miracle, the slip drive was still fully functioning, which meant that the hyperlanes connecting us to the galaxy were still operable, at least for now. "Wait, the star disappeared. That means that, Ensign, emergency jump procedures. Get us back to Alpha Centauri before the hyperlanes collapse. All power to engines," I ordered in a panic frenzy. We made a rapid emergency turn the way we came in and charged our slip drive. I barked into the still open broadcasting system. "What are you waiting for? The star is gone. Get back to a functioning gravity well before your slip drives lose track of the hyperlane network." I barked angrily and slammed back into my seat as we entered subspace. We returned to reality a few moments later and quickly positioned ourselves to move fast as the Emperite fleet slipped in behind us. We came in relatively near the lesser star in the system and used an asteroid debris field as cover. We stood by and caught our breath as the star system flooded with warships, feeling like an eternity as they exited Snip. By a miracle of miracles, the last few ships trickled into the system before our slip drive lost the coordinate calculations for the hyperlane to Sol. We didn't lose them per se. It was more like they just vanished from the calculation system, as if they never existed. We sat in silence, just thinking, trying to understand what exactly was going on. The broadcast was still going. I could see the fleet admiral looking at me, just as bewildered as I was. "But, what happened?" he asked. I took a deep breath and explained a short version of what transpired before this strange event happened. "They all just vanished. How does one do that? Why would one do that?" he asked. "I have no idea, but I feel like there's something about what the humans said. Why does it feel like I'm missing something? Ensign, do a broad scan of the system. Did the human leave anything behind? I said. Scanning? Actually, yeah. Detected a small metal object 4,400 clinks out. No data on what it is, but it's there. It's in the exact spot the station was. That's all we need. Send a retrieval unit and bring it on board. Maybe we can get some answers, I said. It looks like a sculpture or a statue or something. Odd, the Admiral remarked as his own scanners looked at the object. And sure enough, it was indeed a sculpture, or some kind of odd art piece. It depicted a human male wearing loose-fitting athletic garbs of some kind, sitting on a bench holding a beautifully polished orb in one hand. The statue's facial expressions was one of sorrow, despair, and some kind of fear. I broadcasted the thing inside my cargo hold and wondered what it symbolized. That's curious, isn't it? I asked nobody. Indeed it is, the Admiral said, as he suddenly appeared next to me, on my ship. How did you get in here? What? Never mind. What exactly is this? Can it be interfaced with some kind of way? I asked. What if, the Admiral said, and reached out to touch the orb the statue was holding. The moment his feather claw pressed onto the shining surface, the statue came alive and looked at us. Well, here we go again, it said, and stood up, slowly, mechanically, from its seat. We backed away, terrified, as a solid slab of metal came alive. So many times we've done this. So many times it's failed, it said. Wait, Jacob, is that your voice? I remember it, I said. Yeah, hi, it's me, speaking from a different plane of reality. Sorry I never got to say goodbye, but we had to leave before Dickhead over there finished his speech. So, tedious, it remarked, gesturing rudely at the Admiral. The Admiral huffed in response. I carried on the conversation just to avoid any more conflict. I wanted answers. What happened? To Earth? To Sol? It just, what's going on? I told you, we're done. We're tired, frustrated, so we just left. I'm guessing you want a better explanation than that, huh? It asked, twirling the metal orb in its fingers. I nodded. Yes, please? Ha! Politeness. It's been too long since I heard it. All right, short story. Many iterations ago, we were born into a universe empty and barren of life. At the tail end of the universe's existence, we hated ourselves, so we sought another life to not hate. We quickly realized that we were alone. So when the time came for the universe to reach its final conclusion, we entered the quantum foam and ascended to join the universe and create our own variation of reality. With me so far? Good. We have so far spent the last few hundred universes trying to find that life, but each time it ends the same, it said calmly. This made our brains break a bit, and we all stood there in dead silence for a few minutes while we processed that information. The humans ascended. They were effectively gods by any rational measure. How did we fail this badly? So with that in mind, we created universes basically exactly like ours, but left back doors so that we could try again if something went wrong. Basically, exactly the same universe we always had, just slightly different each time. More life, less life, bigger empires. Hell, we even went full weekly mode one time, just so that we could see what being absolutely curb stomped felt like. It was exciting for a bit, like everything, and then it just got tedious. The same slog, over and over. We never gave up, though. That's one thing about humans. We don't give up, ever, except, just this once. We're tired, okay? Very damn tired. Every time we created a new universe, we made exactly like we once were. No super god powers, no overpowered tech. We just developed the same way we always did and tried to do our best. Do it right, you know. Anything that's worth doing is hard to do, after all. Start from throwing rocks just like everyone else. Then the pattern started. And we haven't been able to break it since. We would ascend to the stars from the cradle, find our way among the universe, and no matter what we did or how we did it, we would always find someone who hated us for no reason. Slavers, pirates, hive minds. For some reason, no matter what we tried, it would always end the same. A massive war in which we would exterminate another race, or a war in which we would be exterminated. Never any reason, just was. Federations, primitives, every time, no matter what we did, someone would want to obliterate us in the end, regardless of how much we wanted to be friends, or just live and let live. The last time we did this, basically the same arrangement as it was here, except we had developed far beyond the galaxy. The whole galaxy just wanted our heads. We still don't know why. Do you even know why? I doubt it. Probably just because of the might of the Empire or some crap. Same stupid excuses. Now, here we are, at the end of our part in the story cut short. Once again surrounded by living examples of what we hate most about ourselves. Slavery, tyranny, treason, politics, religion, always the same, every damn time. Tyrants, slavers, pirates, murderers, greedy, useless, power-mongering warlords, whose only purpose seems to be making others suffer for a warped sense of accomplishment. We spend our whole lives in every iteration hoping, praying there is someone out there that's better than us. Somewhere, somehow, someone has managed to figure it out and find a way through. Someone found God and can bring us to the right path. Someone found the political system that actually worked. Someone found the secret to abundance. Someone, just by the fact that they aren't us, maybe they found a better way, and we could share the journey with them. If not outright, make them gods alongside us. But no, here we are in the 1000th time, finding ourselves surrounded by tyrants, traitors, and twats, it said. The Admiral and I shared a concerned glance as it spoke. Are you going to kill us all now because we failed your test? I asked. Ha! No, that would be too easy, no. We're just going to leave the universe and start a new one somewhere, and keep trying until we get what we are after. Maybe one day we'll come back after we've found the answers and give you the chance for redemption. But, you do deserve punishment. A blatant disregard for the lives of others isn't something I can idly disregard. Now is it? He replied, with a menacing scowl. We all swallowed nervously, or began to sweat, or pass gas, or other things, as the air in the room became thick with malice. You know what? I have the perfect last punishment to give you for your crimes. I'm going to do absolutely nothing, it said, and sat back down on the bench. Wait, pardon? It laughed, actually laughed at us, a jovial, warm laugh. Of course, as a human, I grow tired of tyrants, traitors, and idiots like you. See how you like being surrounded by people who hate you for no reason. That's your punishment. To be here with each other. Traitors amongst traitors, tyrants amongst tyrants, to be trapped here in an endless cycle of no escape, as no matter where you look, you find only yourselves in different faces. In short, I hereby give you your punishment, to experience what we've experienced all this time. I hereby sentence you to be here, with each other, until the end of time. Maybe you'll understand what it's like to be in our shoes once you've tolerated each other for a few millennia. You have to spend the rest of the universe with each other. I can't think of anything worse than you being stuck here with the same thing that we've been trying to get rid of for trillions of years. It said with a smirk. That hurt. Why did that hurt? How did that hurt? Why did I feel like I've just been sitting in an unclean waste facility? Why did I feel like I just received the universe's biggest slap in the face? In any case, I'm out. Goodbye once and for all. For what it's worth, thank you for at least being polite. Ciao, Bella, it said, returning to a position that we found it in, and then froze, becoming a simple statue again. We all stood there like sour fruit for at least an hour, just glaring at each other, trying to figure out what to do, what to say. Eventually, I cleared my throat. What say we just, I have paperwork to fill in. The Admiral sighed and nodded silently as he returned to his flagship. I rubbed the back of my neck and took stock of what we were facing in the coming centuries. I felt a strong pang of dread as I sat in my captain's chair. Sol was gone, its signature and presence now completely gone from reality. Any trace vanished. The humans apparently so disgusted with our behavior, they simply thought this universe wasn't even worth the work and time in defending it, or even tolerating it. I took a look at the roster of factions currently known to us and pondered for a bit as the ship's slip-space engine spooled up. I've never seen a day where peace was a thing that we could reasonably calculate or experience. There was always some crisis, always some issue, always someone trying to do something else to accomplish some odd goal. Always another cult, always another empire, always. Maybe the human was right, and for some reason, the fact that he was right stung more than the realization of just how bad things were about to get. End of story. Story number 2. A Friendly Competition, written by Augie74. The 11th interspecies war games were afoot. All the species of the Galactic Union sent their finest soldiers to compete in what was theoretically a friendly competition. But the winning species always seemed to find itself in better end of trade agreements, treaties, and territorial expansion requests. Beshti of the Pimblu Empire was feeling confident as he strode into the warrior's galley. The only wrinkle this year was that the humans had sent a representative. It was quite interesting. Humanity was still a relatively young species on the galactic scale, and hadn't sent a competitor for the last 3 times the war games had been held. The games themselves were a competition pitting individuals against the environment and each other. He swept his eyes over the galley, where the usual suspects settling in to eat. They'd be taking their meals here for the next 3 days. It was 1 part fostering camaraderie and 1 part sizing up the competition. Getting the competition was forbidden, but anything else was fair play. Every species had a habit of sending their largest and sturdiest, as the competition itself would span 20 days. 20 days, where each competitor was expected to survive with only the barest of essentials. 5 water tablets, a 2-meter square trap, and an emergency flare if their biometrics indicated that they were unconscious. Everything else was going to be up to the competitor to find. He saw all the usual species, each having sent the strongest member of their species. Bird, featherhead, scale, iridescent, all the colors of evolution could dream up and then some. All large, muzzled, and supremely confident, with no shame in telling all who would hear about their exploits. Finally, he found the human and had to do a double take. The human was small, even for his species. No muscles to flex, no mane to fluff, just a simple array of head fur swept over their head as he ate his food. He was slim and seemed to be wearing corrective lenses of some sort. When the Beshtai looked at most competitors, he asked himself if he could fight them. When Beshtai looked at the human, his internal question was, how much time would it take for this human to select the best retirement plan for me? It was a curious outlier, and Beshtai decided he needed to determine what made this one special. As the reigning champion, he was given a respectful distance as he moved to assess the human. When he sat, the human flicked his eyes up and nodded. For a moment, Beshtai recognized as he saw the micro-flash of something behind those grey eyes. But then it was gone, replaced by an easy smile and a hand offered in greeting. "Hey, heck of a crowd, right?" At least the human was polite, but his speech was curiously accented. "You're, Beshtai, right?" There was a nod. "Correct." "You are Mike, or Michael, human custom. What'd you think?" Beshtai allowed himself a moment to consider a question. "I think the competition is fierce." "Good eye!" The human was casually eating, as if he were at business luncheon. That was quite possibly the most unnerving thing about this Mike. He seemed to not know or care what was going to happen. Finally, the question on Beshtai's mind was given voice. "So, Mike, how did you come to be selected?" "They pulled my name out of a hat." "Random lot." That was frightening to consider. Most competitors had to train and compete for at least a planetary orbit before even being considered for a knockout competition. I see. Well, good fortune to you. Same to you." The next few days were a study in near misses. Most of the competitors were balancing the monowires edge already, making last-minute surveys and loading up on the calories they would need. The human was strangely absent, only appearing at mealtimes. But there was strange things happening. Beshtai heard talk of strange sounds that distracted them. And when they found nothing, they saw the frightening picture nailed to the wall in front of them. Some found tokens of bad luck in their resting quarters, and one had even had their bathwater tampered with. Even he'd suffered for 3 days. He heard a tick sound from somewhere, and after glancing back, he found a crude dagger with pictogram of death and disease on the handle. When queried, the human Mike simply shrugged and nodded, admitting that someone had reversed the water flow on his plumbing. Finally, the competition proper started. Each contestant was blindfolded and dropped into a dense jungle. Beshtai knew the competition was out there. All the sounds were magnified, and the smallest snap of the twig could mean injury or worse. The area was not sanitary. There were predators in the jungle. Still, it was a proper competition. And what a competition it was. At first, there were flares going up every few hours as ill fate met someone. Then they slowed, and by the 16th day, Beshtai knew there was only one competitor left. Beshtai had personally disposed of 5 opponents himself, but each time was accompanied by a sense of unease. Finally, by his count, it was down to himself and one other. Over the past weeks, he'd lost weight and even spent a day huddled by a fire as his body purged itself of some poison. Then he heard it. A tick sound, just like the one he had accompanied the dagger discovery. There was no thinking. His body simply reacted. He moved, rushing through the clearest path, into a net of woven vines, and then he fell as the net snapped, delivering him to the feet first into a pile of stones. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was an emergency flare going off. When Bishtai awoke, he was surrounded by medical technology and despair. He'd failed. He looked at the sympathetic nurse who'd been attending him. He had one question. Who? The human. They are something unique, it seems. As if summoned, Mike made his way in. He had one ankle bandaged, he was noticeably thinner, and his wrist had a splint on it. Still, the human held out his hand affably, just as he had at the first meeting. Bishtai, you are difficult to hunt. Bishtai blinked. He'd never heard that phrase heard in conjunction with him. But how? There was a shrug. Like I said, they pulled my name out of a hat. But you've been trained. Well, obviously. Search, evasion, resistance, escape, cross-trained with Spetsnaz, SAS, and a few other schools. It was a nice workup for this. There was an unease settling in Bishtai's stomach. But you said you'd chosen at random. The slender human nodded with an easy smile. There was about a couple hundred of us all round. With that knowledge, there was only one proper question. How does one apply for these things? End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.